Hello everybody, it's time for an update. For those who haven't seen, I recently published a video talking about how this nest have cracked and how I've had some issues with the Aesthetic Ants large white-tongue range. The issue being shown right here. These have been used nests, and when I tried to disassemble them, something I didn't mention in the last video is when I unscrewed all of the screws, the crack you see here actually formed. So I think when there's screws in and you let it go, I think the white-tongue breathes or something, because I actually can't get this down again. It's not an issue because it doesn't happen unless you unscrew the acrylic. But in two of my nests, when I unscrewed the acrylic, a little crack formed, meaning it was very easy for me to pull it out and see all of the cotton underneath and all of that. But basically the issue is that you can see here that the nests have warped quite significantly on the back. It's quite clear there are some major warps because what we discovered is there's cotton underneath, and this cotton puts pressure right at the pressure point. So the cotton here is going to be right in this top corner, and in this right top corner, a little bit hard to see, but there's then these pressure points. From this discussion I showed, a whole lot of good points were raised. And the biggest point was that it's because I've been heating the nest directly with a heat cable right under. So you see here in my ant farm supply nest, I'm heating it directly from beneath, and that's what has caused the white-tongue nest to warp. Now at first I was like, yeah, I can agree on this. It makes sense that if you heat it up, it deforms. The issue is, by googling how hot these heating cable gets, they get between 32 to 40 degrees Celsius, and 3D printing need way higher temperatures to start deforming. At one point, I think I remember Heidegger again saying you need to wash this with cool water or something, because at 60 degrees it can start to deform. And again, a quick Google here shows me that 3D printing is made at 230 Celsius. At least that's the temperature of the nozzle. So if we say it's between 200 degrees Celsius and 60 Celsius, this here that is only 40 up to 40 is not nearly hot enough. This nest here have been on the heat cable feet. So you can buy some feet from Aesthetic Ants, and that is these feet right here. So these are some small feet you put underneath the nest, such as the white-tongue nest, and it lifts the nest from the table, meaning there's some room beneath. Now what this was, I'm unsure what was the direct thought behind this, if it was to heat the nest or if it was to make it less vibrate. I think it was a combination of those two. Now I've grabbed myself an old used nest. I wonder if this has a similar issue. Oh, that's a whole other question. I haven't filled the smaller nest. More on that later. Oh, hang on. I think I can actually tell that there's cotton right here. I think I can. I haven't even tried this before. Is there any other? No. I would say there's cotton right in this corner. So I'll just check that. Now this nest here has been used for a few months. I think I had my Monticola, my trap giant colony inside of this nest. But yeah, I would guess that's cotton right in this section. Shall we look? All right, just pulling it off. Oh, I was right. It's very minimal. Oh, that's interesting. It's so dirty beneath, but yeah, it's very minimal. But I could tell that there was cotton right there at the back, because it's also made an indent. Now this tells me two things. First of all, that it doesn't matter that it's on heat cable feet, which I'll get back to later. I'm recording this a little bit out of order. But what I actually wanted to say here is these heat cable feet have been made for, this is like flexible filament, so it's like less vibration or something. Aesthetic said to me at one point. I don't really get the gimmicks, to be honest. But yeah, you can also see here that with this enormous distance between the heat cable and the nest itself, the heat transferred from here to here is an enormous waste. Imagine just cooking over the stove, like having your hot, like you can have your hand right under the stove without any issues. As soon as you touch it, you burn your hand, because that's where it's hot. You need direct contact between the materials to transfer the heat from the cable to the nest. Meaning, this is why that when I had my colony before, my old setup, where I had this nest here and I had 3 nests, all of the ants were living in the 2 nests that were directly heated, and not in the 3rd nest. They didn't have any brood in this nest here because it was not hot enough, because it had the heat cable feed, and that meant that there were no direct transferring of the heat. A whole other thing that I was meant to say in a later part of the video, but now I'm just cutting everything around, is there's no brood or queen in here. But this here down at the bottom has the exact same issue. We have warpage here, and we also have warpage over here, meaning that even though this nest has been used correctly with having heat cable feet underneath and haven't been heated incorrectly, the issue is still present. I then went down in my drawers to find another nest, because this nest right here has never been used. It's a large aesthetic ants nest, white tongue range. It is not, it's as old as this module. I mean, it's around 7 months old, never used. And if we turn it around, wow, that looks very nice, doesn't it? Right here, right in this corner, it goes up. So right here, that's cotton. Can I feel it? There's also cotton right here in this area. Now this shows me it's nothing to do with the heat, it's nothing to do with hydration, it's nothing to do with anything but that there's cotton. What I've been told is this material that Aesthetic Ants uses, PLA, I'm not good with 3D printing, but it's apparently a very soft material. And because it's very soft, the cotton is actually stronger. So with the cotton ball being in here pushing for the past 8 or 7 months or so, it's actually pushed, even though it's never been heated, it's never been hydrated, nothing has ever happened, it's actually pushed to make this warping bubble that you see here on this nest. And this is a never used nest, so in theory this should be all perfect. And again, it's never been used or anything. So what this tells me is it's nothing to do with heating, it's nothing to do with the hydration, it's nothing to do with anything but the core concept of having cotton on the soft 3D printed material or whatever. I'm no nest expert, but the core principle is what is wrong. The cotton underneath the white tongue just doesn't work. So, of course, what I wanted last time was for Aesthetic to actually reach out and get a public announcement saying that they're working on the issue or something. And Aesthetic Ants did just that. So I'll just put it here on the side right here so you can read it. And Aesthetic Ants made quite a long comment on the initial YouTube video, so you can just pause it if you want to read it. And after that, Aesthetic Ants also, on the Friday update, he also sent out this statement right here. First of all, in the comment initially he said that he would reschedule a replacement if you have issues, which in my experience, I have 4 large nests, 4 large white tongue nests, and all 4 have an issue in different occasions. Some of them are very bad, some of them are not used and also have the issue. So all my 4 large nests have the issue. So basically what that tells me is either the Danish humidity inside this room have caused everything to warp, well, at least the white tongue nest, or all other white tongue nests out there should get a similar issue once they're old enough. Again, I've had this for 9 months, so it's, if all of you out there have had them for 6 months, for 7 months, you should start to see a tiny issue like I've had with my not used nests that have a tiny issue. But yeah, Aesthetic Ants in the YouTube comment let you know that you would get a replacement scheduled and you would get a new one. In the email he didn't say you could get a replacement, but he could say to reach out and we would find a solution or something. 50-50, it's fine, it's fine. He did what I asked for, he came with a statement, and that's nice. And the thing is this is not an issue that shows straight away. So it's hard to fix an issue that comes after 9 months. That's a long time. But also, if this is an issue that's happening with 100% of my 4 nests after 9 or after 7 to 9 months, I think it's a big issue. Yeah, either way, it's up to Aesthetic Ants. He did come with a response. He is working on the issue. I personally think he should bring it out of stock until it's fixed, because at the end of the day, 100% of my nest should actually be resent back, and I should get 4 new large nests. Instead of that, I think I'll just stop using them, because right now they're not working, and until they're working, I just don't want to use them. So I'll remove my ants from these nests once I get some new replacements. Now then, there's the talk of, can't you just put the nest upright? And well, I just don't like that. If I shake the table, I'm scared that this will. I mean, you can just see this. Just look at this. If I just push it just slightly, you can see how little it takes. It takes a lot. It doesn't take a lot of energy to just push it forward slightly, and then it tips. I think there should be a bigger feet in the bottom so it doesn't just tip, and then I would be able to use this standing upright. I'm actually not a fan of using this nest over here standing upright, but I thought it would look cool. But I'm mentally a little bit scared that it'll just tip over one day, because if I were to fall into this table, slipping over something and hitting this, all of these sellers would be standing, and I think these two would smack down. And with it being fragile white tongue, it would crack. So you can't just use the nest upright, and you would technically avoid the problem. Now, like I showed with this nest, it has a little tiny dent here, and it's also showing the issue. So it actually doesn't matter what size, at least in my experiments, all of them can technically get the issue, like 5 of my nests apparently have. But in this nest, it's not a major issue for the simple reason that it's on feed. But the thing is, like I explained earlier, when they're on feed, it's pretty much impossible to give them a lot of heat. Like, you can't give them direct heat. So I wouldn't put them, at least not if it's an exotic species that needs a higher temperature. I would not put them on feed, because then I would not be sure that I could heat the colony properly. At least not my Nova Mesa cockerelli, because they need an insanely hot environment. It may be fine for other species, but for that reason alone, I don't want to say get the heat cable feed. That's something to say. It may solve the problem of the warping, because you can't say it, because it'll stand fine like that. It won't wiggle. But instead, you won't get the proper heating way. So in the video 2 days ago about the Wakushi Generation 4 lineup, I had some interesting theories. I talked a lot about the dead zones, and if you want to go in and watch that, be sure to go in and watch that. It's 2 days old now. I made it yesterday in real life time. And in that video, I talked that I wanted to put this nest was located here, and I've been located over here now, which means that there's now no dead zones in here. If the ants want to get food, there's a lot of flies and there's a little bit annoying, it happens sometimes, but if the ants want to get food into the nest, they have to walk all the way through all of this into the nest. And the cool thing is, after talking about this and showing this to Wakushi, and Wakushi seeing the video, he's gone out and said that he'll remake the 4-way connector, because the 3-way connector, if you only use this and this, there's no dead zones. If you use the 4-way connector like I've done here with a nest here and a nest here, you will always get this whole section to be a dead zone. This is a dead zone. Again, if you want to hear a lot more about that, check out the other video. What Wakushi have gone out and said is he will redevelop this entire 4-way module. So if you only have 2 nests connected, like this and like this, there'll be no dead zones. So again, if we look here at the aesthetic range, we have a huge dead zone. The ants come in here and they go out here, meaning technically all of this is one big dead zone. It's working fine, but you can see here the ants have decided not to use much of this part because they've moved over to this nest and they're a little bit all over the place. But you can see all of this is technically a dead zone now. Now, a very easy fix for aesthetic ants to fix this issue is just by closing this way. Close this, and close this. For the ants to come out of this door, they would have to go all the way up and down. And you can see that this becomes a little bit apparent in this nest. Now, when I initially had this nest, I was a little bit confused why the ants are not in this middle chamber here. My fiance personally thinks it's because you hydrate from this side. So I hydrate here, I could see the water just fell down and this area started to get moist. And the same, of course, with this area. The white tongue didn't really suck up, it just fell down and landed down here. And that was my fiance's thought, but that doesn't really add up, because why are the ants in this section then? But then the dead zone thing came into play again, because if the ants want to get over to this nest, they can just walk straight through it, meaning this section here is not needed. So if it's more humid here and it's more humid here and the ants need to walk straight through, why would they use the space unless they want to use it for nesting space, which they are not at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that anything needs to be changed with this nest, but if you would like to avoid having dead zones, for example, in this nest, back when it was lined up like the picture you see on the screen again, this whole area was a dead zone because the ants just walked through because they want to get to the 2 other nests because they were the hot and the nice ones. So this was just a big trash area, and you can see for some reason there's a lot of cotton in here as well now. If you want to cut out the dead zone problem, you could just make the nest go up, down, up, down, up, down. It wouldn't necessarily remove this area here, but my fear is that this can become a trash area. I know Nova Mesa cockerelli are fairly well at cleaning themselves, they put their trash out here, but some ants are better than others. My Nikos here are using this nest quite nicely. It's the smaller, it's the medium aesthetic, I think. But if the nest was too big and perhaps they didn't use these top chambers, they could have used this as a trash zone. If you somehow made the ants have to go up here, to go down here, the ants wouldn't want to have trash in their home, because the ants don't want to have trash in their home. But if it's dead zone areas, they don't necessarily see these trash zones as their home, because this is not our home, we live down here, or this here is not our home, we live down here. Again, it may not resolve this specific issue, but I think it's a small thing that perhaps should be upgraded with this. The video is coming to an end, and I just want to say a few final things. First of all, me and aesthetic are not enemies. It's not like we're at war or anything. I just think this is a bigger problem than aesthetic ants personally think. And I think aesthetic ants should not rush a fix, but I think you should bring it out of stock, get a fix and get it out there. I have said a lot of different concerns, And again, I want to be more honest, and when I see concerns, I want to let people know about them. It's the same with the Kush, it's the same with the Ant Farm supplies, because if the people aren't telling it, well, then the stores aren't finding out, and some people may get issues. So all of this is just to help improve. I think in this video I've said there's a lot of smaller issues, and the reason I've noticed all of these smaller issues is after that big warping, and this big warping have led me to go down and really look what is wrong. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Okay. So well, hang on. There's some other things. So it's not like I like looking at these. I like disassembling things and trying to understand how they work. And I think this issues inspired into a whole lot more than it initially was. And this is still a fine nest for people who want a nice nest. I just think long term there's some issues that should be fixed. And in that regard, perhaps putting the sale a little bit down, or at least giving a warning. Again, it's up to Aesthetic Ants, I don't mind. I don't want to go out and be all ranting once again like I've just done. So I also want to say that I want to be honest. But I don't know, this has spiraled down into way more than it initially was. I'm hoping Aesthetic Ants will come with some good solutions. And either way, the worst that can happen is nothing gets fixed. The best that can happen is that the hobby improves. You may not like my opinion. This is my opinion, and it doesn't matter that it's. I saw a funny comment saying you've changed since you've become rival and you've grown big. I've just become more honest. I've realized people are really listening to what I'm saying. Like I have a lot of, especially moms and dads who have like young kids that like ant keeping, and they have issues, and I'm like, oh yeah, you've bought a cheap nest from AliExpress, you should probably go with this instead. And that's why I've realized that I have a responsibility, because I have a lot of people out there watching. It may not be you may be clever enough to do your own research, but for those who just want some extra information, I want to do the extra information. And all of this is issues I'm finding, and I just want to be honest. I just want to say my opinion, and that's what I've been doing once again. So hopefully there's not any more rants. I'm not going to make any more Aesthetic Ants videos. Hopefully in the future, once they're improved, I'll come back and see if they've improved, and I can say that I can recommend them again. Right now, no, I don't recommend them right now. Boom, finished. They're a fine nest with the ants, but there are some issues I think should be fixed before I can really recommend them. Is there anything more I want to say? No, I have so much. I need to clean my room. It's really annoying. I got this cool shirt from my fiance. Hi, I'm the ant guy. No, yes. Hang on, it's mirrored, but yes, I am the ant guy. So yeah, I gave a lot of concerns regarding the Ant Farm supply nest, to the point where I sat there thinking, watching the video, damn it, am I too evil? And the Ant Farm Supply, Charlie from Ant Farm Supply, said thank you very much for the feedback. He's now brought out a version 2, so I'm looking forward to testing the version 2 in the future once I have it in hand, seeing if all of my concerns were fixed, because I had a lot of concerns and apparently they've all been fixed. That's why I'm saying all of this towards Aesthetic Ants, because hopefully I'll make a video in a few weeks, in a few months, saying, oh, hello guys, Aesthetic Ants fixed all the issues I mentioned. So, only time will see if that's real or not, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing it, because the more feedback the stores get, the better the products will also get. All right, with that being said, bye!